What's that, Skip? Seano's talking about Supercoach again. Let's go. G'day everybody, it's Seano again, and I'm back with some more Supercoach content. Today we're going to be doing my team reveal March update. Now I'm doing this team just before round 0. We'll do one more between round 0 and round 1. So that way it's going to give you the best idea of what team I'm going into the season with. So before we get going, I would love it if you subscribe. So do that now. I've got some very important videos coming up. If you like the video and leave me a comment down below. We still have positions left in the Unlimited League. So get in that league. We're trying to get up to 100 people in that league. And also join my Discord. I'll leave a link down below. And we'll do another live video before the season starts where we're going to discuss all the relevant rookies, and we'll also review your teams like we have before. You just pop your team in that, post your team here, and yet we'll go through your team and see if we can make it the best possible team for the start of the season. So let's get on with it, and yeah, you can see what my team looks like. All right, little sneaky there. So we got 250k in the bank. Now, keep this in mind. This is my get out of trouble free money. This team is a little bit risky, so we're going to need a little bit of money in the bank. I usually don't like leaving this much money in the bank. Usually about 100, 120k, anywhere between 80 and 120 is nice. But I think with this going into round 0 before we need to lock in our players. So we're going to have a look at a lot of these players, and then we're going to have a final decide on what our team's going to be like. So start off, you might notice that the whole season I've been preaching Whitfield, and now I've got Wanganeen-Milera in there. It's not so much that I'm jumping on the bandwagon. It's more, especially because of the last score. The last score doesn't have a lot to do with it. I know he went huge. He did score 4 goals, and this is actually the issue that I have with it. Is he going to score 4 goals every week? Well, he looks awesome, and if people try and tag him, maybe they're going to put him up forward. I was kind of hoping that he might get tagged or some attention, and that might drop his score, but it actually might even help his score if he's getting 20 to 30 possessions in the midfield and then resting up forward, and kicking a couple of goals. That could just make his scores go bananas, which I'm thinking as 50% or more of the competition own him, it could be a very nasty fade. Now, my friend Whitfield, who I've said many times was the number 1 defensive scorer last year, if you take out his injury-affected score, he's only owned by 10% of people. So if Wanganeen-Milera goes bananas and I don't have him, and my substitute of Whitfield just goes and does, Whitfield things, scores like 110, 115s with occasional big scores, and Wanganeen-Milera is getting 130s, 140s, that could really hurt me. Plus, Wanganeen-Milera should get DPP status in round 6 or after round 6, and that could really help my team come further on in the buys. And so maybe that is also a reason that I'm thinking about going with the pack. Now, I still really like Sinclair. I could also change Sinclair to Whitfield if I wanted to, but I've been high on Sinclair since the beginning of the season. So for the moment, we're going to put Sinclair in there. The good thing is we get a look at both of these teams in round 0, both GWS and St Kilda. And so I'm going to have 2 out of those 3 in there. I guarantee you that. The only thing it makes me feel like I really want Whitfield in there. Not only is he amazing, I do worry a little bit about Ash maybe taking some of his points, but that didn't seem to affect him last year. So I'd like to see him take a lot of kick-outs in this round 0 match. This is Whitfield I'm talking about. Same with Sinclair. I'd like to see Sinclair take a lot of hit-outs. We saw Windhanger take quite a few in the last practice match. So we're going to have to see if we feel like that's going to affect Sinclair at all. I don't think it will, but round 0 will be a good judge of that. So 2 out of those 3 will be there. Rosie, I think, is a lock. Yes, he beat up on the Eagles with most of the Port Adelaide team. As a midfielder, he showed, though, he still got it. He can be a very good midfielder. And once the other midfielders from Port Adelaide come back, I think he's probably going to go back to his back playing position that he had last year. Now, Caleb Windsor is in my team. Now, this spot actually could be held by either Windsor, or I also like Blackstone as well, that a lot of people are picking. The reason at the moment I've got Windsor slightly ahead of Blackstone is because of job security. So Windsor has been talked about being in the midfield for Melbourne the whole preseason, how he's doing very well. Now, in the sim game, I watched it. He was everywhere. Every scene of bounce attendance, he seemed to be there. Now, he didn't do that great. He didn't get the ball. I made a bit of fun of him and said he went to every bounce, but he never got the ball once, which is kind of what it looked like. But this week, he went to what seemed like every centre bounce, and he got the ball quite a bit. So I think the role is there, and I don't think we can go too much into the scores of these practice games. Don't forget, some of them were affected by the weather. They all had an extra 3 people on the bench, so not everyone played out a full game. I think we need to, it's more about locking down the roles than the actual score they scored. So I like Windsor's role. I also like Blackstone's role. He looked pretty good in the ruck. The only thing is, with their other ruck coming back, there's that little bit of uncertainty with him. At least with Windsor, I know he's going to play and he might not get me the scores I want. I probably want 80 pluses every week to make his 280k price tag, reasonable. And the same with Blackstone, you probably want 80, 90s every week. But at least Windsor, if he is a bit of a slow burn, he gets a couple of 70s and then he maybe gets 100 and then he gets a 90 and then he gets another 70. He'll still go up and he probably won't get dropped unless he puts in a really bad performance. They seem like they really want him there. Whereas Blackstone, maybe the other ruck comes back. Maybe he's not doing as great as they thought he was going to be. Like, there's been different opinions that I've heard. Opinions that Bruhn is the best ruck and he'll come straight back in. Other opinions that he's going to have to work his way back in, which is, I think, what someone at the club said. But of course, they're going to say that. They're not going to say he automatically steps into the position. So I think there's a little bit more uncertainty there. There might be a little bit more upside on the scoring over in Windsor, just the fact that he's a number 1 ruck. Now, both of them and the one more mid-pricer that he's not in my midfield at the moment, but I also like the look of Bruhn. And he's one. Unfortunately, you're not going to see Windsor or Blackstone in round 0 because they don't play. But Bruhn, you're going to get to see in round 0. He had an awesome first half playing behind the ball as a halfback distributor type role. And then second half, he went and played a little bit more midfield centre bounce. Looked like he sort of took over Bailey Smith's kind of role. So once Bailey Smith comes back, and does he move back to that halfback role? So if Bruhn moves back to that halfback role, next week, plays the whole game there and scores like a 90 plus, I'll be seriously considering him at his score for my midfield. Now, last year we talked about not going too many mid prices. Now, I think that there's a bit of a difference between this year's mid prices and last year's mid prices. Last year, if you're like me, you picked Jaden Short, who just came out and scored 120 in the practice match. Do not pick him. This is a trap. This is a huge trap. Do not pick him. I'm even going to play. Should we play it? I think we're going to need to play it.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. It is a trap. So, don't do it. The same as we had Perryman and Matt Roberts, who was okay, but still a little bit of a trap. They were all around the 450k mark. The same as what this year you've got the Bergmans. Now, I don't advise picking Bergman because we haven't seen him the preseason. You're basically taking a shot in the dark. You don't know what his role is. You think he might play midfield, but we don't know. We haven't seen him all preseason. That's why I've called a little bit on Colby McKercher too, because we haven't seen him all preseason. Now, with my 250k in the bank, if Colby McKercher comes out and smashes it, I can move up from a Windsor or from a Blackstone to a Colby McKercher, or I guess a Miles Bergman. But I don't want to start with these guys at that inflated price. I'm just a bit worried about the same thing that happened last year. But at the cheaper price of under 300k, which we've got Windsor, we've got Bruhn, and we've got Blackstone, I'm a little bit more confident that I can just drop them down to a rookie if things don't go as I expected and move the money somewhere else, where I'm not expecting Windsor to be a keeper, where if I'm buying a Bergman or a McKercher, I kind of hope that they're going to get very close to keeper status, at least to after the buys. Where Windsor, I could easily see me shipping him off after round like 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. If he makes me 150k after round 7 or 8, ship him off for a Whitfield or a Lockie Ash or somebody like that. As for rookies, we know the rookies will change. Round 0 is going to really, really determine the rookies. So keeping that in mind, these rookies could easily change. You might be some rookie you've never heard of comes out and smacks 100 in round 0. Now, as long as you think that guy's job security is pretty good, you're almost going to have him, because the quick cash generation he's going to provide you is going to be very, very valuable. But for the moment, Lindsay looked good in the Eagles. I think he holds his position. I think he's reasonable to have on field. I think Sarong looks like the same. Looks like he can score okay, and I think he's okay as a on-field option. Farrow, he didn't get the biggest score, but his efficiency was very good. It looks like Essendon will probably play him, and he's got that DPP status, which makes me a little bit more happy about paying up for him. Again, we can always drop down to a cheaper rookie if one becomes available to us. But at the moment, we could drop down to a rookie in the midfield or the back line, because he has that link with, also, you see I've got Grill down here. So the two of them provide that nice link. Neither of them are going to play round 0, I don't think. Does Richmond play round 0? Essendon definitely don't. I just need to check that for you guys. Do they? Richmond do not play round 0. So we're not going to get another look at them. But the fact that his efficiency with kicking was really good is enough for me to get Farrow in. He's not going to need a ton of possessions to get a reasonable score. Now, this is the other thing. I think we need to cool our expectations on our rookies. Now, I know we had a disastrous year last year, rookies being dropped and rookies being the sub, but there are going to be rookies that you pick that are going to drop you 30s and 40s and 50s. You know, we all want our rookies to score 60 plus and generate cash really quickly. Unfortunately, that's just not going to be the case. And the people who pick the best rookies and the rookies that get those 60s and pluses more often and faster than everybody else are going to be the ones that really get a good jump on the rest of the competition. So, but don't be too disappointed if you've got like a Sharp down here that I've got and he drops a 40 or a Farrow drops a 40. It could happen, and that's going to create a slow burn for them. So that's why job security, I think, is a decent. If you think they got job security is there and they've got a chance to get that, build up and get a spike score a bit later on, then I think they're worth picking. Dirksen, 99k. He's a present from the Supercoach gods. If he plays round 0 and he is named in round 1, we just lock him in at 99k. It doesn't even really matter if he gets a 40, because at least he'll be going up. I mean, it's a bit more of a problem if a Farrow at 163k gets a 40 or a Windsor gets a 50. But if a Dirksen gets a 40 or a 50, you're like, whatever, You're still going up, still doing okay. So I just need to think we need to taper our expectations on the rookies. And like I said, don't read too much into the scores over the weekend of any of the players, rookies or premiums. They were just practice matches. It's more about you're looking at the roles. So let's move to the midfield. We're not going anywhere. We're keeping the Bont. We're going to keep him through the season. We're going to watch him in round 0. If there's a disaster in round 0, like if Bont was to get 100 or less, I would definitely think about dropping him for somebody else, just because he's going to drop enough money that you might be able to pick him up in a few weeks' time, especially if he got less than 100, like he got a 90 and he played more up forward or something like that. Yes, he might come back the next 2 weeks and get 150 both weeks, but that means he'd still probably drop money, and you better get him at 50k cheaper if you can. So Again, it's a round zero dependent thing. Now, we're not going to see Port, but Jack Butters is a lock. We saw him beat up the Eagles with Rosie. Bonafide captain choice every single week. Just lock him in your teams and don't have to worry about it with that easy round. So Nick Dacos, I've been in and on and off him all season. So I'm thinking the big three boys, Bont, Butters, and Dacos, all are, just pretty much locked and throw away the key unless round zero tells me not to. The same as Dacos came out and got tagged and got a 70 in round zero. I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't keep him. I'd get somebody else just to make the money, make a bit of money. Not that I don't think all three of those guys are going to be in the top 5 midfielders at probably the end of the season. They're definitely going to be, you can't never say definite, but they're, in my brain, it says they're definitely going to be in the top 8, and that's why I'm prepared to pay up for those 3 boys. So LDU, I've had a few different players in this position, including I love both the Sydney boys. The only reason the Sydney boys aren't in there, I'm really, really keen on Goulden, and Heaney looks very good as well. I love that kind of role that I saw Goulden play in the sim match, and in the practice match where he had a little bit of an ankle issue. But we get to see them in round zero, and if they go absolute bananas, they might replace LDU. It's just with the early buys, it means I got a little plan. So if I put LDU in, he doesn't have an early buy, he plays, say he does okay, but someone like, a Sam Walsh or a Hugh McCluggage, who I also like, do really good. Well, those boys, they play in round 2, so I could always drop LDU in round 3 and pick up one of those boys. Or if the Sydney boys go crazy, I could drop LDU in round 4 and get one of those guys with the money I have in the bank. Now, I usually don't like a sideways trade, but to get me through the buys and a potential player who can score big. We know LDU can score big, and I believe that this year with Sheasel in the midfield, he'll get less attention. It might free him up a little bit, and he could, deliver coming. They've got a pretty good run, I believe. Well, it's not too bad anyway. I know they play the Eagles at least, or North Melbourne. So I don't think they're going to be that great this year, but LDU is the man. He's the number 1 man there, and, besides Sheasel, of course. And then it goes Sheasel, LDU, and then everybody else. So I'm thinking I can jump off ship, but he is a nice value pick, doesn't have a buy, and could work out to potentially be a keeper if he goes bananas. Hayden Young showed us what he was capable of. Everyone was a bit worried after the sim match, but he came back in the practice match last week and showed us what he's made of. Lock him in your team. He is a must-have. Now, Parrish did the opposite. In the sim match, he did really well, and then in this match just gone by, he didn't score that very much. But don't panic. Don't drop him. The role was there. He still had the most CBAs out of everybody Essendon. They still want him as that CBA midfielder. So I don't think you can write him off for that one game. I think you still have to go there, and then we don't see him in round 0. We also don't see Hayden Young in round 0. But if after a couple of weeks he's not delivering, you can worry about it then. But at that price, at 330, he doesn't have to do much. Even if he's getting 80s and 90s, he's still going to make a little bit of cash. Not as much as you want, but he's still going to make a little bit of cash. So I wouldn't be jumping off him just because of the score he got last week. Grill, again, his score wasn't great, but he looked really good. He passed the eye test, and he looks like he's secured his spot in that team. And so I'm thinking, again, I think he's a decent option. On field, I'm not really sure about. He could be one of these ones that drops a 40 or a 50 one week. But the fact he's got DPP and you're paying up for that little bit, and he has the link with both Rosie and Farrow in my back line, makes me think that it's worth paying up that little bit extra for. And his job security seems pretty good. Jaeger Smith should be a lock in everyone's team. If he's not locked in your team, you're not really playing Supercoach. I don't know what your game you're playing, but it's certainly not Supercoach. And on the bench, we've got Sharp. Again, he didn't look fantastic, and I don't think he's going to be a high rookie scorer, but he looks like he's got very good job security. So I think that's fine to keep him as long as he's named in round 1. I'll be keeping him there, I think. Here's one that does not have good job security. Now, Mr. Jones here from the Bulldogs came out and kicked 3 goals, I believe he kicked, and got a reasonable score. He is a small forward, and he is definitely one. He could get you a 30 or a 40 every week. Now, this position is up for grabs for me. It could be, I'm looking for a DPP swing player, whether it be him, maybe Finn McRae from the Eagles, who also didn't look great. And there's one, and Cook from Adelaide, who knows if he holds his position. So we get a look at Jones. If Jones plays round 0 and is named for round 1, awesome. Maybe we take him. Same with Cook, doesn't play round 0. We only get to see if he's named round 1. And the other and Finn McRae also doesn't play round 0. Is only named round 1. So I really would like a DPP position player there. You see, we've got Grill here to link with the back line. We would like someone to link with the forward line. And another gift on the Supercoach gods are Blamiers. Sorry if I ruined your name, mate. 99k. If we see him named in round 1, we pretty much just pick him and hope that he plays at least 3 games. They do have players coming back into that team. He looked okay, though. Whether he holds his position, we're just going to have to see. But I think it's worth a risk if he is named in round 1 with all their other players coming back. At 99k, again, it doesn't really matter if he gets you a 40 or a 50. You're still going up in money. Nowhere near as bad as if a Sharp gets you a 40 or 50 or a Grill gets you a 40 or 50. So job security a bit shaky, but money potential high. And same with Jones. Job security shaky. I think he'll be a very slow burn. Think Kako, small forward type. So moving on to, the only other thing, did we speak about Tanner Bruhn? I'm also interested in Tanner Bruhn for the midfield. But yes, we need to see him play full-time back, not half back and half mid like he did this week. And yes, we need him to score probably a 90 plus to make him viable for my team. And again, he's in that mid price of a 280 price, which means he's not a 450 mid pricer. So I'm more likely to take a chance on him than I am on a 450 guy or even a 350 guy. You know, if Young wasn't young, I'd be very worried about a 380, but he's a Young. So yes, as you can see, the rucks. I think I'm going the crazy, risky ruck strategy. Now, English, I loved his game. We know that he scores more than any other ruck from transition and away from the throw-ups or ball-ups and centre bounces. So his performance showed me on the weekend. There doesn't seem to be anybody else there. He's no sharing of this ruck business. So he, I think, is worth having, even with the tricky early buy, considering I've got Bont and others as well. We'll go through the buys and my plans at the end of showing you the team. So McAndrew looks really good, long as Riley O'Brien isn't named. And even if he is, I think he'll still be number 1 ruck. And even his mate, Toby Murray, I believe, the guy who played the second ruck in the forward line, I'm considering as a rookie for the forward line. If we see that lineup in round, we don't see them round 0, but in round 1, if it's McAndrew and Murray, I might pick them both. Now, Reedy is one of these ones that don't be surprised if he drops you a 30. Like, he only needs to make 22, is it? 22 to go up money. It's predicted to get a 27. I would not be surprised if he gets a 27. He's definitely second banana behind Pitnett for the ruck, and he doesn't look good as a forward. But he provides a DPP, and maybe if he could eke out a 50 or a 60, I'd probably be very happy. And just he opens up that swapping availability, which, as you can already see, is something that I'm kind of working at. Also, I think we had Jackson here for a long time. And if we skip the forward line, you'll go down and see we got Mason Cox here. And you guys might think I'm mental for doing this. But did you watch the game with Freo? So Freo, in the last practice match, we're basically playing Mason Cox as the number one ruck. When Cox and Jackson were on the field at the same time, Jackson was playing the midfielder or the forward, and Cox was playing the ruck. So even though I would love, if Jackson was the number one ruck, I'd be locking him into my team straight away, especially with his juicy buys. But at this current role that they're giving him, which they've shown us so far, and what they've said they're going to do all pre-season, I don't like it. I don't think he can score high enough. There's just too many midfielders and mouths to feed in that Freo, in the Freo midfield, which is another reason that I've got LDU instead of Sarong. We had Sarong for a lot of the pre-season, and it wasn't so much his score that he got on the weekend. It's the fact that there was Brayshaw there was Sarong, there is Luke Jackson. Now Murphy Reed is running through there. So, there's so many mouths to feed. It just means maybe there's less ball for Sarong, which is why I'm going to fade him for the moment, and why I'm fading Jackson, just because unless somebody tells me that he's going to be the only ruck, which just doesn't seem the way it's going to go, I'm not picking him. Now, if Darcy is named, I won't be picking Cox. Cox is my get out of free jail card. So if everything goes sideways with McAndrew, if Cox is the number one ruck at Freo, at least dividing, 50-50 with Jackson, with ruck contest, and we know Cox can go forward and kick a goal, the same as Jackson. So, I think he's worth it at 220. He can score an 80. He can be an 80, plus player. And if you get your 80 and you pay 220 for him, you're going to make money. And he provides this DPP action with Reedy, who, like I said, I'm not expecting too much from. Or we can also have, there's a cheap guy from Geelong, who is also a ruck who might get a run, who potentially could go instead of Reedy. His name is Mitch Edwards. Got a 56 from 50% time on ground. If I thought he was going to be the second ruck, I'd be interested. He played almost the number one. He got 20 hit outs, so he played almost the number one ruck. He got from 50% time on field, that's good. They also used like Blickhars. They used De Koning, which in the sim match, they used him a lot. And Neil, who got that bit of an injury. So the problem with that is that Geelong we don't know what Geelong's doing with their rucks. So I'd have to see him being at least decent ruck time in the preseason, in the round 0, and be named for round 2 before I would consider him. I think Reedy's job security is pretty good. I think they're going to play the two of them together. I just don't think he's going to score very much. So I'm interested, guys, if you're still watching, let me know, do you think Cox is a viable pick? I don't know, but I think it could get me out of trouble. Plus, with that extra money in the bank, it's another reason LDU, it's fine. If I needed to pivot from LDU to a Cherry or somebody to get the McAndrew, maybe McAndrew has a bad game and they bring back Rory O'Brien, I can get out of trouble relatively easy. It's going to cost me trades, but it's relatively easy. And that's why this is kind of a risky team, because if the stuff hits the fan, it could cost me a lot of early trades. Trades that when I should be getting the proper rookies and the proper setup of my team, I'll be trying to muck around in the rucks, which I don't really like. The only other option, I think, I like Grundy and I still like Sherry as well, but both at their inflated prices, I kind of hope that I can pick one of those boys up. Especially Grundy looked really good. Hopefully I can pick him up a little bit cheaper. And the other thing I asked myself, if I pick Grundy, maybe I have a Goulden or a Heaney here or a Grundy here. I can't have both. So, that'd be too many out on the early buys. So I was thinking to myself, can Goulden and Heaney or Heaney score more than Grundy? I think there's where they can, whether they will or not, especially with the tear Grundy went on at the end of last year. He could start the season off again like that again. I mean, if you could tell me if there's no buys at the moment, I'd probably pick English and Grundy as my two rucks, with Sherry right in there just because of his easy run at the beginning. Still going to be good, still going to score well. just a little bit less than the others, but that still might be enough to be as good as any gun midfielder. As for the forward line, I don't think this has changed much. We got Sheasel, we got Petrarca, who I'm sticking by. I still liked the game. I know he didn't score a whirl, but he still seems to be right in there at the centre bounce tendencies and then looking to him to get the ball out. So I still like his role. Flanders, Philippou looked good. Flanders looked awesome. Marshall looked better this week, and he's dependable, and I don't have to worry about having a rookie on field. So I think he could be another one that could drop some stinker scores, but he's got the potential to do okay in this back role. He had marked a lot of balls. I think he got 10 marks and quite a few contested marks, which helped get a decent score. But at 147k, I'm not completely sold, but I think it's pretty safe. Robertson, played awesome for the Eagles, played in midfield. I think he's pretty easy M6 for the moment. Dovison could be another guy who gets you a 30. Don't be surprised if he does. A small forward. He does like that bit of a tackle, which is nice. It gets up the field a little bit. So, a bit of pressure forward. It could be good. Is the ball going to spend much time in North Melbourne's forward line? You don't know. So I'm more on job security than scoring for Dovison. And Lombard, I think Lombard looked good, and I think he's almost a on-field option, a high half forward. He's probably going to have some average scores as well, but he might have some good ones too. So, I'm thinking that is pretty safe. And with this, especially if I went for the Tanner Bruhn option in the midfield here, not that I would know which midfielder to drop. It's probably Jones who gets dropped because of his drop security, or Blamiers, maybe. How many rookies do I have on the field? I'm not counting Mason Cox, the rookie. If he's in, he's in. So 1, McAndrew. I mean, it's hard to call him if he's number 1 ruck, so a rookie either. So I'm not going to call him. 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 rookies on the field, and that kind of prevents having too many disasters where rookies getting dropped. If these rookies that are the job security is not great, say Blamiers doesn't play, and we need to cover Drew the buys or something like that. It's not, I'm not going 3 deep rookies in the back line or in the midfield. It seems there's not too many in any line. The biggest worry for me in this team with the risk is the McAndrew, but I see a world where it could really pay off, or I can see a world where it can go really sideways. So I just need to decide whether I'm going to take that risk or not. I think it also might depend a lot on what does round 0 Sydney. Does Grundy just go bananas? If Grundy goes bananas, maybe we just get Grundy there and we put McAndrew in the flex instead of Cox, and maybe that's just a safer way. It means we probably won't be able to have LDU here. We would have to have an extra rookie on the field. We would be running, just the 3 big dogs, Young, Parrish, and 3 rookies that I don't know if I love that. It seems a little bit risky as well. So let's have a quick talk about the buys. So round 2, how many players have I got out? We got out Dacos, only counting premiums, not counting rookies, even though Jaeger Smith played like a premium. So 1. In round 3, we have Bont, English, and Petrarca. So that's another 3. So that's a total of 4. And in round 4, we have Nass, Sinclair, and Flanders. So that's another 3 premiums. So in total, 7 premium players out in the first early buys. That's why I was a little bit dubious about putting one of the Sydney boys here, just because that would make another one 8. And I think on a good day, LDU can score as much as the Sydney boys over the whole season. I don't think he will, but if he has a bit of a blinder start to the season, maybe he can keep up with them. He costs less than both of them, and he covers those early buys for us. So I'm counting on you, LDU, just to do a bit of coverage and hopefully get me some decent scores. So I don't think that's too bad. Again, if I had Whitfield, it's the same amount. If we go to round 12, this is the really nasty buy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 premiums. LDU does hurt this one a little bit. I think 5 is the max I want at the start. I'm not taking the mid buys into 2. I'm not freaking out about them too much. By the time you get to the mid buys, you could have had injuries. Things could have changed. I could have like swapped LDU. So it just means that just something you need to keep an eye on. Round 13, we have no primos out. Round 14, we've got Dacos, Young if he's still in the team. Pretty much they're the only primos out. Round 15, we have basically no primos out. And then round 16, another one which is a little bit rough. Wanganeen-Milera, Sinclair. So we've got 2, 3, 4, already 5 out for that one as well. That's another reason why I kind of like Whitfield instead of one of these guys, because it helps with that buy. But that's a long way away in the season. So I think the most important thing is that we got to watch these round 0 games. We're going to try and lock in the best rookies. And that's going to help us determine the rest of the structure of the team. Like, what do you guys think? Do you think the Cox McAndrew thing is a bit of a safety net, or do you think it's a little bit crazy? And do you think I'm crazy if I'm saving that 250k, if that's too much money to have sitting on my bench? Anyway, if you're still watching now, please subscribe. Thank you for all your support up to now. I really want you to enjoy these videos. So subscribe. We've got coming up in the weeks between round 0 and round 1, we'll do another team reveal. We'll do a video on the best rookies, and we're bound to do a live video where we can jump on stream with you guys and you can show me your teams and we can try and work out the best teams for everybody. And during that, we'll also probably, we'll discuss everything that we need to know for that opening round and everything that we saw in round 0. All right, crew, as usual, you've been amazing, and I thank everyone for being here. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Take it away, Skip.